kind of takes it away. Brings it back. That's fine. It's coming along quite nicely. I like that. I don't want to say that. The title's like Laws of the Jungle, meaning like I think there's a code that everybody lives by to help them navigate their way through circumstances you're either put in, sort of like morals, and it's just me basically kicking game to kind of like the lessons I've learned, tips that I've found, my sort of perspective on how things might be, touching on certain subjects, just trying to like kick some games of basically what I've learned and basically my experience, which is like not to say how you should be doing things, but how things that I've found have progressed and gotten through certain situations that you could maybe apply to yourself. Initially it was going to be an 8-track project, but didn't want to oversaturate it. Wanted to get the message through, and I wanted to invest the time rather than pushing out corny songs and shit just to get it out there. Like they've been doing a lot of like bulking up projects. I wanted to give you 8 solid songs, not too long, not too short, but then I realised that 8 might be a bit overwhelming because I was going to include interludes, so I decided to dead that. So now it's just going to be 6 tracks with crazy production and just good lyricism. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't want to overwhelm the listener. So like it's just going to be 6 tracks, solid, you know, you plug in, you're out. I've put together 6 songs, the beats are made, the songs are written, so 6 are done. Just got to go to the studio, you know, finish up, touching up a few things, recording some of the audio, making it I'm really kind of obsessed with trying to make this as good and as polished as it possibly can be. Like I want it to be something that ages well, like a fine wine project. So I'm not rushing with it, I'm getting it done, making it hopefully something special. I had this idea, I was talking to a friend and he said to me, have you ever thought about making trap music? But I'm not a trap artist, but I've always been fascinated with trap because I quite like that sort of energy it brings. So what I decided to do was try to flip that and get trap instruments but put it in a hip hop way. So I might use the same tempo, I might use like a boom bap sort of like kick, but I might layer it with like a 808, or like I might draw inspiration from like a drill melody but then put it over a normal hip hop beat, do you know what I mean? Stuff like that, kind of flip it, so sort of find that harmony between the two things that I enjoy. I love grime, I like hip hop, why not merge the two together? So with that, my inspiration was kind of lyrically, I was looking to do something like tell a story, touch on a subject matter, sort of follow like my idols where they rapped about stuff that you could sound cool, like you hear it and you're like, oh yeah, it's cool to the average listener, but if you look a little deeper you'll see the gems that are hidden in the dirt. So kind of like that's where I kind of wanted to go in this direction with this project. What I wanted to do differently with this project and what I've learned from Spectrum was don't overthink things, because then obviously you start to like fixate on things. Like the last project I worried too much about articulating words to make it sound like you were hearing it, but what I've come to realise is finding that harmony between the two. So you've got to make music to people who aren't regular hip-hop heads, where they know they're going to listen to what you're saying, so it kind of finds that harmony of like, they flow with the beat, they think it sounds cool, they can vibe to it. But I also wanted to layer it, so there was some kind of like substance to it, so that people who love hip-hop like I do, and like everyone that I surround myself with and my idols would do, is sort of have this message and sort of the wordplay and the shit that you might not hear the first time, you go back, you listen to. I wanted that, I kind of wanted to make something that made you kind of, when you hear it, you're like, oh, yeah, okay, I felt that, and then you go back and like I said, I wanted to age really well so you can come back and listen to it again. There might be things you might have missed. With production, the same thing kind of with that, like don't overthink things. If you overthink things, you'll nitpick it, you'll take it apart, you'll ruin this and that. Before you know it, you've deconstructed the whole album and it's just dead, and then you find yourself sat there like, well, where do I go from here? So for me, my main thing I've learned to Spectrum is invest more time but think less. Like, don't overthink it. So that's kind of like the approach I've had with this one. So for the cover art, I kind of drew inspiration from the blueprints where JT sort of sat there smoking a cigar, but I flipped it, meaning he is looking like a mob boss, like a businessman, like he's about his business. For me, it was sort of the flip side of that. Like, smoking a cigar in an isolated place means that he's in a dark place, because obviously it's very isolated, you're very alone, it's very like harrowing, but he doesn't look scared, doesn't look worried, because like I said, laws of the jungle, you know how the code goes, you abide by the code and you'll be alright. Like, you know what you're doing, you're finding your way out of this dark place to that light at the end of the tunnel. So rather than being this frail little person just curled up and accepting the way things are, he's gone into this dark place, he knows where he's at, he's comfortable there, and he knows the end of it. Like, you'll see around myself, there's a sort of like light beaming out from the darkness, showing that in the darkest times, sometimes you gotta look to yourself to get yourself out of that situation. Like, you could be that light at the end of the tunnel that you're trying to strive towards. And that's kind of like where I went inspiration for the cover.
Of the jungle.